How you doing? California State Fair Expo, Cannabis Exposition 2023. Let me hear you. Woo! All right. I hope you guys enjoying the exhibition out there. My name is Randy Reed. I am the VP Science at Advanced Vapor Devices, or AVD. We manufacture cannabis vaping devices, specifically made for cannabis oils for the cannabis industry. We're going to give a little talk about cannabis vaping, just kind of a 101. These are our products up here. It's the AVD gift box, so we do 510 cartridges, batteries, and all kinds of other fun stuff for cannabis vaping. That was my old extractor. Her name is Nancy. I am, again, Randy Reed, VP Science of Advanced Vapor Devices. I'm also the co-founder of High Level Coffee that we're serving at the Slushy Bar here. So if you guys haven't had Nitro Cold Brew from High Level, definitely go check it out. I'm the formulator, chief scientist, co-founder, founder of RNS Consulting Group. We consult on manufacturing, beverage, vape formulation, all kinds of other fun things cannabis related, and co-founder, chief slushy officer at the bar over there. Hey, nice to meet you guys. Thanks for sitting there. All right, we're gonna have some fun. Here's our objectives here. 101 on cannabis vape. How do I know if my cannabis vape is safe? And some tips and tricks for better cannabis vaping. And then if you guys are in the industry, if any industry people out there want to come and learn about better manufacturing practices, SOPs, capping, filling, you've got leaky carts out there, you've got returns, you've got all kinds of headaches from your hardware. Come sit down and learn how we can help you out and deliver a better consumer experience. So what is cannabis vaping? It's an inhalation modality or point of delivery, really. It's a delivery system. There's a lot of different delivery systems for cannabis. As we know, there's topical, where you just rub it on like a cream. There's edibles, ingestibles. We've got beverages over here, right? You guys are drinking some right now. And of course, inhalation. We all love to smoke our flower. We like to take bong rips. We like to take dabs. We like to hit the vape pen. And that's what we're specifically talking about here. What are we inhaling? Is it vapor? I don't know. Well, actually, I kind of do know. It's not actually vapor that we're inhaling. Vapor is a gas phase of these particular compounds that change from their liquid or solid state to their gas phase. Now what happens is they don't stay in their gas phase. They recondense into these tiny little droplets, and those droplets they're so small that they're able to be suspended in the air. They can be lighter than air sometimes. That's why they can float around and then you can inhale them. These aerosols contain cannabinoids, THC, CBD, Delta-8, HHC. They contain terpenes, the volatile aromatic compounds of cannabis that give you that flavor, that strain effect. They contain what are called VSCs, volatile sulfur compounds, that are recently discovered. The science is still very new here for cannabis. These VSCs were just discovered recently by a colleague of mine. They're called volatile sulfur compounds, and they're also produced by garlic and onion. So this is where you get those cheesy kind of oniony, dank flavor, skunky aromas are thought to now come from the VSCs, volatile sulfur compounds, versus terpenes. So really, we're still learning a lot as we go through this. Polyphenols are going to be things like flavonoids, carotenoids. These are going to be produced by the cannabis plant. They're antioxidative, and that's their kind of primary function in the plant. But also when we ingest them, they can have similar properties, right? These are things that are found in red wine. They're found in coffee. They are color bodies in the plant. So your purple comes from these anthocyanins, in fact. And they can change depending on the pH of their environment. They can be from purple to red to blue. Hey, Cammy, you want to come nerd out with me and everybody? No? Okay. So these are all the things that are found in the aerosols, and we're one of my areas of study right now is cannabis aerosol research. So we're taking the aerosols and we're capturing them, and then we're running them through analysis, a pretty robust analysis, to really understand the chemistry behind the aerosols. And the reason we're doing this is to, again, validate that our devices are producing safe products, and that we understand the chemistry of the products so that we can reduce the potential for hazard, really, is what it is. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. Well, I guess we're going to talk about it right now. So I just want to clear the air, right? Like inhaling anything besides air into your lungs can be potentially hazardous. So just take that and sit on that for a second, okay? Now, we all know about EVALI, right? Like, have you guys heard about EVALI? EVALI was the Vapegate was another name for it. You know, it happened, and I hate to snicker at it, but the names are still kind of changing. And in fact, EVALI was called Vapey before. It was called Vapegate. It was this anomaly that we saw in cannabis vaping in about 2019, and it was pretty bad. People were dying. And they were looking at whether it was e-cigarette, whether it was cannabis vape. And then what they found was really interesting. There's a couple of points I want to cover here. Number one is that you can see the peak there. This was about 2019 again. There it is, right there about August, September. You see the peak. And then people started really looking at their vapes. Like, what am I vaping? You know, like, holy smokes. Like, I don't want to be one of these statistics up here, right? So people start looking at their vapes and their lab testing, and this is from the CDC. They start taking a bunch of samples from the population of cases that people are going into the hospital for this. And what they found was that there's a correlation of vitamin E acetate, or AKA tocopherol. Tocopherol is super safe to put on you. As a topical, it's well known there. You can ingest it just fine, take your vitamin E supplementation that way. But something happens when you inhale it, and it causes severe lung damage. In fact, so much so it can be fatal. So it's serious stuff when we're talking about inhaling these compounds. Now, the tocopherol is believed to be used as a cutting agent in illicit cannabis vape. So that's a little point for you guys to take away. The number one thing you can do to protect yourself from hazard as far as inhalation goes of these cannabis products is to buy legal. And I'll talk about that why for a second. So illegal versus legal cannabis. The DCC is over here. They'll tell you all about why to buy legal weed. Go talk to them. They're very educated, and it can be very informative. One of the things from where I am is the rigor and the lab analysis, the certificates of analysis that you have to go through to sell through the legal channels, through these legal dispensaries. The illicit market doesn't have that. So they can cut with whatever. Good job, Cami. They can cut with whatever they want. Before it was MCT oil, fractionated coconut oil. Then they switched to tocopherol. Then they're using there's been olive oil back in the day that they would put into vapes to cut the cannabis oil because it's so viscous, and they need it to flow to be able to aerosolize. So it's used as a cutting agent. So we're testing for this on the legal side. You have to test for vitamin E acetate to be sold through the legal channel. So just that alone will protect you from having a potentially hazardous situation with your vape product. On top of that, for me, I love my terpenes, I love my flavor, I love my cannabis, I love my strains. Go take a look at the SC Labs presentation on how we're doing chemometric analysis, and you can tease out all of the flavors, the effects, the aromas that you should expect from that product just by looking at the lab analysis. So it's really powerful. If you like indica, in the couch, if you like sativa, you want to be uplifted, you have a profile very specific here that you could look at and go find those products, whether in vape, whether in beverage, whether in flower. So it's cool to learn how to understand what it is that you respond to, and then be able to go find those products out in the market via this particular form of chemometric reporting is what it's called. Also, they're testing for pesticides, which are nasty when you aerosolize them. solvents like ethanol, butane, propane, hexane. These are carcinogens. They're Prop 65 chemicals and compounds. You don't want them in your vape. You don't want to inhale them. And heavy metals, right? Lead, arsenic, cadmium, mercury. These things are not good to inhale. And they are frequently found in illicit vape products. So just take that and think about it before you go and support your God on your corner, you know. So just be careful. So now we're going to talk about what exactly a vape is. They're actually nebulizers. They're producing these tiny droplets, and they're doing exactly what your asthma inhaler is doing. Except in this particular instance, we're using a ceramic coil and a battery to be able to generate these aerosols. In this instance, this is a lot of pressure going through a tiny little atomizer. But the end result is an aerosol. And these aerosols are actually medically certified devices. And I found this picture up here of a kid using an aerosol inhaler. So I'm not going to say that they're completely safe, but you know they're used in pediatric medicine, which obviously has a lot of rigor to be able to get a medical device certified, especially for pediatrics. So just keep that in mind. Very recently, this is pretty cool for us. I don't know if you know what that is. That's a volcano. So some of you old school people these were like the OG vapes back in the day, right? You got the big bag and all that. So, but this device right here, 2 days ago, got certified in Germany as a medical device. They've been using them forever in the medical cannabis industry, which is awesome. But to pass the EU certification for a medical device is extremely difficult. And that same device that we've been using for a decade plus is now certified as a medical device. That's pretty amazing. That just happened two days ago, and there's the actual certificate right there for Storz and Bickel. So we love to see that, and especially for a good company like that. They make really high quality products. This is some of the ongoing research. Like I was mentioning earlier, it's still really early for us in cannabis vape. That said, there's a lot that has been learned in the e-cig and the tobacco industry. They had been studying aerosols and inhalation of these of all kinds of compounds for a long time. So what we've been doing in our company at AVD was really investing in really learning about the cannabis vape and aerosols and the chemistries and whatnot. And then this is a study that we have going on right now. It's in collaboration with Abstracts Tech, who's a terpene provider. They provide like the botanical terpenes that give the vapes flavor and efficacy, that strain-specific effect again. And what we did in this study, this is a pre-release. It's a peer-review study. We're in phase 2 right now, but phase 1 was looking at, and by the way, this is Dr. Willie McKinney here. He comes from Philip Morris. I don't know if you guys have heard of Philip Morris, and Juul. And he was the lead toxicologist at Juul and Philip Morris Altria for over 30 years. So he's the lead researcher on this project. I'm a collaborating scientist advising on the vape hardware and making sure that vape hardware is going to deliver a nice clean aerosol for characterization and for research, basically. So what we looked at here was the first phase was we're looking at the toxicological profile of 21 terpenes in cannabis distillate. We took a very basic 95% cannabis distillate cut with 5% terpenes, pretty standard stuff, and we looked at all the individual components through this very traditional toxicology panel. And what we found was that 2 of the terpenes, myrcene and beta-caryophyllene, needed further investigation. So what did we do? We hooked up rats in a lab with a little a nose cone, and they're in this little chamber, and we vaped the heck out of them. And this is a traditional, it's called a rodent model flow cell chamber that we use in this sort of research. I know it doesn't sound very cool, but that's the way research is done, because obviously the human model is a little more challenging to get in this environment. I'm sure you guys would sign up for it, but you know, in this environment for research, it's pretty sterile, and that's kind of what they call it. But anyways, we vaped out these rats. And then we looked at what's called point of departure, acceptable daily exposure limits, and we're able to determine kind of where the safe zones are for inhalation of these terpene compounds. This is the first time this has been done for cannabis. So we're learning a lot as we go, and now we can advise our customers, the industry, stakeholders, consumers, about what levels of terpenes, and specifically those terpenes, are going to be safe for inhalation. And I hate to use the word safe. The toxicologist says that they don't like safe, they like reduction in hazard. Because again, inhaling anything into your lungs is potentially hazardous, right? So that's ongoing. We have a finish date of year end, and then we'll publish. That was the title of our abstract. Okay, so now we can jump into tips, trips, and technology. Raise your hand if you have a cannabis vape in your pocket right now. Yes! There you go. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. I don't have one in my pocket, darn it. I should have had one. So if you do, if you unscrew that cartridge and you look on the bottom of it, if it says AVD, I will give you a free battery. Okay, so we've all experienced this, right? Clogging, leaking, weak vapor, no vapor. It's like, man, this thing doesn't work. There's a number of reasons. First thing is always just like hit reset. You know, check the power. Do you have connection? Right? Like, there's a number of ways you can do that, but just check the power supply. So clogging, I mean overheating. If you don't leave your vape in a hot car, please. It's sacrilege if you do that. Your vape will leak all over the place. Treat it like you would a bottle of wine. You know, cellar temperatures. Try to keep it out of light. You know, be careful when it's in your pocket. You know, if you throw it in your backpack, careful not to back up against and break it and sit on. I can't tell you how many reports we get of people sitting on their vape and it cracks in half, and they're like, "Oh, it leaked all over the place." I'm like, "You sat on it. Of course, it's gonna break and leak all over the place." These are made out of glass, right? So treat it like you would glass. So again, minimizing the heat. Elevation is another interesting one. So if you travel with your vape, the lower air pressure in the airplane actually causes the liquid to expand. It's the opposite of when you go down to the bottom of the ocean. That pressure is really strong, and then it crushes things. It's the opposite. When you go up higher, there's less atmospheric pressure. The products expand. And what that does is it forces the oil through the atomizer holes there at the bottom, and then it starts to flood. So if you ever travel with one of these vapes, pro tip, flip it upside down. Flip it upside down so the oil is at the bottom of the cartridge, and then the air on top can expand through the atomizer, and it doesn't push oil up through there. And then when you get wherever you go, flip it back over, you're golden. Okay? And then low temp vaping and vaping with a battery on a low charge. So we all love our terps. I love my terps too. So, and we know that terps they don't like heat as much, but you need enough heat to get them off the coil, be able to create the aerosol and give you that flavor. Start low, take a couple rips low on your lowest voltage setting, whatever, get the flavor, and then every now and then turn it up, clear that atomizer out. And then that'll help keep your cartridge flowing nicely and working properly. If you just keep it on low all the time, you're not going to get full aerosolization of the oil, and it'll start to kind of collect in the air passage, and then you'll get clogging, spitting, and that sort of deal. So every now and then, turn it up, clear it out, and then go back to your low. Okay? Okay, causes, tips. Okay, we've got, if you're in a cold environment, if you're, in Canada or in Canada, where it's cold. It's not really so much so here, maybe in the wintertime or if you're up in the mountains. The oil gets really hard. and it won't wick properly. So in that instance, you can use a preheating function or just kind of warm it in your palm so it saturates into that core, and then you can get it to hit. So just keep that in mind. Sticky connections, sometimes if the oil is leaking, it can get in between the connections and then cause a misfire. Our batteries have misfire protection on them, so you don't have to worry about them shorting or that sort of deal. But you know, in other devices, cheaper devices, something that you just want to keep those connections clean. Natural oil buildup, we talked about that. As you start to vape through the cart, the oil will condense and then it'll start to spit again. Go on high, clean it out, and then you're good to go. All right, pro vape tips, because you guys are all pros, I can tell. So let's see, storage, we talked about that again. Treat it like wine, cellar temps, out of the light. Session length, if you're doing blinkers, does anybody know what a blinker is? Okay, blinker. So blinker is when you hit the device as hard as you can for as long as you can until the device shuts off. There's, again, they have these anti-short features and auto shut-off features for safety. So a blinker is going pedal to the metal, really. That, if you're doing blinker after blinker after blinker after blinker, the oil's not going to be able to saturate and keep going. You'll get dry hits. You'll get all sorts of problems. So just keep that in mind. You can go blinker, but just give it some time to kind of resaturate, and then pass it off to your friend to do another blinker, and then you guys can go back and forth. You know, keeping the threads clean and everything clean. Anybody know what to use to clean cannabis oil? Isopropyl IPA, yes, and the higher the better. If you can get 99 IPA isopropyl alcohol, that's the best. If you can do ethanol, that's even better. So like Everclear, 190 proof Everclear, food grade, you can drink it if you want. I'm not gonna, no judgment, but it works great too. IPA, you don't want to be inhaling IPA as much and blah, blah, blah. It's not as clean. I mean, you're not going to be drinking IPA either, unless it's a beer. But ethanol is ideal if you have access to Everclear, 190 proof. Okay, we talked about cleaning, blah, 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 blah. What else can I say about pro vape tips? I think that's it really on, what else can I say about pro vape tips? Yeah, we'll go into Q&A and then you guys can ask some cues. So that's, thanks for sitting through this, guys. Thanks to the California State Fair, obviously. You guys are rocking it. It's good to be here. There's my Instagram, @MarlonRando. Definitely give a follow and check it out. And then if you have any questions about vaping or cannabis science at all, feel free to reach out. I'd love to geek out with you guys. And then we'll open up the Q&A. And if you ask me a question, I'll give you a free vape battery. No joke, one of these. They're really good.
Here, wait. Okay, gotcha. Perfect. We good? Are we on? Cool.
Yep.
How do you feel about rosin, like in cartridges overall, and compared to like distillate? And what are your like guidelines maybe for some of the temperatures and stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're seeing a really big uptick in cartridges. We design cartridges specifically for rosin. Rosin poses a lot of challenges in a cartridge. It's a crude extract. It's not refined. It's not winterized. It hasn't gone through distillation. So it has a lot of other things in it, which is why we love it. But those other things can kind of gum up the cores. They can cause problems over the total life cycle of the cart. What we see is that, you know, the first 100 hits or something are great. And then the carts start to run into issues. It's because of the buildup of these, we believe it's gums, fats, waxes. These things occur naturally on the plant. Fats can insulate, same with waxes. And so these compounds, they don't vape very well. They have high boiling points, so they stay behind when the terpenes liberate, when the oil liberates. And they gum up the cores, basically. And then you get dry hits and all this stuff. Thanks, guys. Have a good day. So, yeah, rosin, so low, because the rosin likes the low temps, right? You can get the most flavor out of it. There's always a change-off between flavor and vapor production. So you can go low, get your flavor, and then just clear it out, go high a little bit. And then we find that just that cycling between the low high does a really nice job to help that product to work throughout the whole life cycle of that cart. The distillate is very simple of a formulation. I mean, it's 95% THC. So the rheology, the viscosity of it, how it resaturates the core is very predictable, and that's why it's done so well, because it's a consistent experience. The hardware performs very well with it. Rosin's a different story. It's typically small batch to batch to batch. We find that even some research that I've done before was that we looked at the amount of wax and fat lipids in cannabis flower, and the same cannabis flower grown outdoor has 20 to 30% more wax on it, especially if it's gone through a cold night, which a lot of times they do because they want to insulate themselves. We also found that there's more diversity of terpenes and more terpene production in outdoor sun-grown cannabis, which is why you see here on all the winners, a lot of them are outdoor. Yeah. So you get, there's plus or minus to everything. Rosin, live resin, right? We see a lot of live resin. That's great. A lot of live resin these days is winterized. Are you guys familiar with the term winterization? So winterization is basically you take the cannabis oil, you put it into ethanol, and you freeze it. And then what that does is that ethanol forces the waxes and fats out, and then you can filter them out. It makes for a cleaner product, especially for vaping. Again, those waxes and fats are gonna clog up the cores, just like a high octane fuel versus more of a crude like a diesel. That's exactly, the engines are going to behave differently. They need different kinds of mechanics behind them to be able to perform optimally. The ceramic, we do an ACG in rosin, is phenomenal. Yep. The punch cartridges, I'd have to. I think Punch is actually one of our clients. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, so our hardware has this pulse wave to it as well, which helps to, that thermal cycling expands and contracts the cores and helps them wick better. It improves the capillary action. It also prevents heat spikes and all that, so it gives you better flavor. Yeah. Cool, man. Come up and pick a battery. Anybody else?
What's the longevity of your battery?
Yeah, so our batteries are... Yeah, sweet. Thanks for the question.
Battery-wise, what's the longevity of your battery?
Yeah, so our batteries are, we manufacture them ourselves. They're really high quality. I've actually been out to the battery factory and seen them made. It's pretty cool. They're high quality products, right? This isn't stuff that you're going to get at your C-store or your corner store. Yeah, so you'll get a lot of cycles out of this particular product. The key is making sure to charge them fully. And then you'll know when you get kind of wispy vapor or that sort of deal, then you can throw it on the charger again. Yeah, but you'll get a lot out of it. All right, come on up, man. You get one.
Hello.
Hey.
Who was the first person you ever smoked weed with?
That's a great question. Shit. I don't remember, to be honest. I think I was so high. Oh man, no, it was back in Hawaii, smoking out in the back of a pickup truck with some friends. We got high as fuck, and they played this game with me that it was the coolest game. Everybody was in on it, and they had this. Well, okay, they played two games with me. I'll tell you the one that I use all the time, which is fun, man. If you guys ever get high with a bunch of friends or somebody for the first time, you get everybody in on the car, in on it except one person, and then you just start a conversation, and then you drive around the block. And then every time you circle around the block you restart the conversation. And everybody's in on it except that one person. And then they go, didn't we just talk about it? And you go, no, what are you talking about? And you just keep doing that, and it fucks with people's head, man. They're like, what the fuck? I thought we dumb. Like, what? And then you just keep driving, and you start the conversation again, and then when you get to that point, you restart it. and everybody's in on the joke except that one person. It fucked with my mind so bad, excuse my language, but it was fun. I never forget it. So yeah, go ahead, grab yourself a battery, my man. Thanks for the questions, guys. We appreciate you guys again. I'm Randy Reed, VP Science at AVD, Advanced Vapor Devices. We appreciate you guys. Definitely check out the hardware, check out our website. Flip your cartridges upside down, look for that laser inscription. Make sure that it's quality, make sure that it's AVD. We love you guys. Thank you.